Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, guys. Welcome to the Godox Facebook Live Talk. Today we have your favorite photographer, favorite portrait photographer, Sarah. She recently did an amazing job with his commercial shots. So here she's going to share some of her behind the scene as well as finished photos with us. Without any further ado, I will let her take over the talk.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Aries. Thank you so much for having me back. This is great. I just wanted to talk today about how, I've used Godox for many years now, and people are always surprised when I say that I've used my little Godox, my small Godox flashes, and now more recently the AD300, which I love, to shoot commercial photography. I love it so much because I'm often asked to go to the client's premises. They want me to shoot there. So I have a tiny car. in Europe, we like small cars. I have a little Toyota Igo, and it's tiny. So I'm able to fit everything in there, and I just take my lighting to the client premises and we set up there. Hi, Peter. Hi, everybody. Hi, Nagayuki. Hi. So nice.
Kojima, yeah, we miss you, buddy.
Yeah. So yes, I just wanted to show just a few standard jobs that I've done shooting commercial style, which is still portrait based, because the people who contact me for commercial work tend to have seen my portrait work, and they very often say, we love that. That's what we want for our advertising. We don't want a typical advertising shot. We want your look for our campaign, which is just music to my ears. That's just wonderful. So yeah, I thought I just gathered together a collection of images, and also recently I did a job where I had 5 models. I think each had 3 different looks and setups, and I had to get it all done in one day. And I work alone. I don't have assistants or anything. So I packed my car with my Godox lights and went to the client premises, and we did a behind the scenes video. So I just wanted to show you a little bit of that.
Out of curiosity, did you use 8200 this time or 8300?
I used both. I took the AD300, and I had a couple of AD200s as well, which just in case I needed a little bit more variety, and I did end up using them all. Yeah, but the AD300 was just lovely. It just gave me that little extra bit of power that I needed if I wanted to just increase my f-stop, narrow down the aperture a little bit, and it gave me a little bit more power and control. But it's still really small and neat, and works beautifully.
Quite good. Should we jump into the your lecture slides?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I've got a variety of pictures. First, I just wanted to show that I've done. Now, the early ones were done with the AD200s, because for a few years that's all I've shot with in my studio, and weddings. I just literally just take them with me when I go to a wedding, and then just bring them back to the studio. So this was a hairdresser client who asked me for a portrait style image to go on a billboard, and they wanted something that was painterly and classic. So here I have 2 lights. I have an overhead light. You can just see it slightly to the rear, providing a little bit of light on her forehead and nose, because I wanted to bring out the hair a little bit more. But they didn't want a sort of the typical hairdresser shot. They wanted something very portrait-like. So this is what I presented them with, and then this was what ended up going on the billboard. I cleaned it up a little bit. I put the painterly effect on the test, and they decided to crop in, and we used the space on the right for their logo that went on. And this was a 6-meter billboard. And they also had it in their salon. And the next one we did from the same shot, always with an AD200. This you can see from the catch lights. It's just an AD200 in a softbox, and I've got a small silver reflector just to give a little bit of glow. And just in case anybody points out the messy hair, that was the client, the hairdresser client, deliberately wanted that. They wanted to show something that looked. In fact, I wanted to retouch out all of these little stray hairs, and they said, no, it's perfect as it is. Leave it. We want it to look like a real woman, and just just a real hairstyle. So someone who's just literally just gone like that, and they wanted it to look genuine. They didn't want that perfect kind of retouched look. So this also went to the 6-meter billboard. Yeah,
just to support what you said earlier, with this image, the last time we had a chat with it, that inspired me so much. I did the photo shoots of pre-wedding photo shoots on 1st of October. So I used to delete this kind of photo. This time I keep it. You know what? Turns out the bride loves it.
Yeah,
and she actually put that right into her album.
Yeah, exactly.
So good. Yeah, that's so good. So it's almost like, feminine way of seeing things. It's so good.
Well, sometimes the little the flaws make the picture. So I was like, please, can I just retouch out those hairs? And they were like, no.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at the questions to see.
Yeah, let's address some questions. I think there is a question. But it's really vague question. I'm not quite following this. So tell me about advertising shots and the post work.
Oh, do you mean the post-production, the retouching maybe?
And so it's the shot and the post work? I'm not too sure. Maybe
somebody has said, I have the AD300Pro. How much light speed may select? Okay, that depends entirely on your camera settings and the effect that you want to have. Are you going to be just using a little tiny pop of light to blend with the ambient light? Do you want to knock out all of the ambient light and just use solely the light from the flash? So you can't say that with this light there's one setting. So sorry about that. You need to experiment and learn.
Let's say under this particular context, did you use high-speed sync?
Yes, I think I've got in fact, on the next one, I looked up the settings. So this is another shot for the client. This is straight out of Lightroom, so there's no retouching on this at all. This is an AD200, 120 centimeter softbox, f4, 250th. So I'm not using high-speed sync on that one. But I will show you later on. There's some pictures where I very, very clearly use high-speed sync in order to shoot at f2. And
it's a gorgeous image. How many lights did you use in this one?
This is just one light. So this one and this one is just an AD200. Yeah.
So good. I know this is probably off the topic, but
which softbox is best for wedding assignment? Again, I would say the smallest one. The smallest one that you can carry with you, because otherwise it gets really complicated. It really depends on what it is you're going to be doing. So for weddings, I'll sometimes not use a softbox at all. Sometimes I will have one in the car with me for the bridal portraits outside, because I want to balance with the sun, and I'll have the setting sun or the sun or some kind of backlight on the couple, and then I'll have a softbox in front, and I want to get that sort of spread and I don't want it to be too hard on them. I don't want it to look like a hard flash on them. So I'll sometimes take it with me, and it depends if I have an assistant as well. So if I have an assistant, then there's going to be light stands, soft boxes. But I've always used, up until now, I've always used 120 centimeter one. But I really like the 85. The 85 it's neat. It's still big enough to get the softness that I want. If I want it really soft, I just bring the light closer to the subject. It's as simple as that. And yeah, so I really like the 85. It's a nice sort of mid ground between more of a beauty dish style and a bigger softbox. Another question: which software are you using for retouch? I process the raw in Lightroom or Camera Raw. If it's a big job, I will load everything into Lightroom and I will do a color correction and do some basic adjustments in Lightroom. If it's just one or two shots, if I'm retouching for somebody else and they've sent me 3 shots, then I will open in Camera Raw, just because it's simpler than creating a catalog. And then I retouch in Photoshop. But I don't use any software like filters or portraiture or anything like that.
Organic.
Yeah, I sort of do everything manually, pixel by pixel. Another question, this is a good one. Do you use high-speed sync outside or stay within sync? I'm a big fan of high-speed sync, just because it frees me. I don't have to think anymore about staying within the 250th and that kind of annoying thing. So I just leave high-speed sync on, and then I shoot at whatever I want to shoot at. And I usually, I wouldn't say that I always like the bokeh look in the background, and that I do sometimes, but not always, because sometimes I want to be able to see the amazing landscape behind, in which case I'm going to be shooting at least f8. But otherwise, I'd love high-speed sync, just because I can just forget about it. I just don't have to worry about having to shoot at a higher, or using a neutral density filter in order to get that, in order to be able to shoot at f2.8, which I used to do. And that was what I used to do before high-speed sync, because I'd have this sort of dark.
It's just so much pain.
It's just such a hassle. I can't see anything through the lens, through the lens, and so it opened up a whole new world using high-speed sync. So I wouldn't say it's something like
3 stops on you. Sometimes you need the 6 stop, and every different lens has different diameters.
Exactly. So it's not like I say, right, for this I use high-speed sync and for this I don't. It's not, I just have high-speed sync on all the time, and then I just shoot at the settings that I want to shoot at. That's as simple as that. Great. So another example using AD200s again is simply what I've done here is that I've just, to get this pure white background. Oh, there was a question there. Is this model far away from the background? Can we go back to here? Is this model far away from the backdrop? She's not. She's probably about hang on a sec. I'm not very good at measuring distances. She's probably about 2.5, 3 feet away from the backdrop. But what I do to darken the background is that I bring the light forward and I feather it across the model or down across the model so that it doesn't hit the backdrop if I want to darken it. So I can, it's not just a question of how far the model is from the backdrop, but it's also what you do with the light, just by turning it and feathering it so that it skims the model's face and it doesn't hit the backdrop. You can darken the backdrop quite a lot. In this shot, the client, so this is, let me explain what I'm selling. I'm selling an eyebrow product here. So
sorry, sorry, Sarah, just give me 1 sec. My son is jumped right into the way.
Children are welcome. I'm sorry my daughter isn't here, then we can have a parents working from home party.
Here's Theodore. Say hi.
Hi.
Hey, hello, Sarah.
Hello, Sarah.
Hi.
I want to go to Italy to visit you.
You're welcome anytime, my darling.
With you.
So good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good boy. Papa, go to work.
Good night, sweetheart. Oh, cuteness overload. I'm dying.
Yes. Night, Theodore. Sorry.
No, having apologized.
Sorry about that. Felicia's taking shower for our younger one, so he's sort of playing the guitar. He's getting bored, so he's just kind of. I just want him to see that how that is working from home. You know, not hiding in the corner.
What a sweetheart.
Yeah, hopefully next time I can bring him to the WPP and visit you guys.
Yes. Oh my God, that would be amazing.
That'd be so much fun. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So sorry about that. Let's continue.
Yeah. So this is just a really like classic beauty shot where you want lots of light, and what we're selling here is an eyebrow product. So it's a product that basically fixes eyebrows in place and sort of perfects the eyebrows. So that's what we're selling here. And here behind, I've just put her in front of the softbox. So that's just a really easy way to get that pure white background. And I wanted to have the glow sort of coming forward. And that's just a really simple way of doing it. Another way of doing it is having a white backdrop and then having your lights pointing at the backdrop. You need more power for that. So because I just had the AD300s, simple, all you do is I just put it in front of the backdrop, and then I just extended it. So probably you could see in the original picture, you could see the edge of the softbox, and I just extended it in Photoshop and made the white background longer. But yeah, I've just got I think I had a beauty dish on this one and a reflector, just trying to get that glowy all white look. Questions.
Here's a question.
Can we use cheap umbrella modifier to achieve the style of these photos? Maybe tips for the mandatory modifier. So for many years, I've used inexpensive modifiers from Amazon, various brands. So really in a modifier, what you're looking for is the shape and the diffusion. How many layers of diffusion? So sometimes within a softbox, there will be space to put an extra layer of diffusion. All of that is dependent on the look that you're going for. I now use the Godox softboxes because they just I find that they work brilliantly. I love the way that they open and close. They're very convenient and very neat. But for a long time in my studio, I can't even remember the brand, but it was an inexpensive, I think a €35 modifier from Amazon that worked absolutely fine. The thing that you need to understand is how light works, how diffusion works, and controlling the light. That's the most important thing. The size. The things that are important are the size, the shape, not so much. I tend to like the octobox because I like the round catch light in the eye. I prefer it. Strip boxes if you want to light down the whole body. Grids to control the light. For me now, what is important in a softbox is the ease of opening and closing. To be able to pack up and go to a client shoot like this or go to a wedding. Yeah. And that's why I absolutely love the Godox Umbrellas, because they're very solid, but very, very fast and easy to you just push it down, literally like an umbrella, click, and it's there, it's open. Silver, a silver beauty dish if you want very specular highlights. So if you want to get these sort of nice highlights along the face, you're going to be looking at a silver beauty dish, which is deliberately like that, or if you want a very, very soft fine art look, you're going to be looking at a larger modifier with several layers of diffusion and possibly a lot of feathering so that the light is very, very soft. I usually take photographs. Oh, Mark Skinner, how long have you been a photographer and how long have you been using the Godox range? I've been a photographer for nearly 10 years and I've been using Godox, I think at least 5 years. Dang Tran, I usually take photos with softbox and find having light spots on the cheek or forehead. I notice you don't have that on your shot. How did you avoid this? Well, part of it is retouching. So, however, that's the last step. I should have mentioned that last. Makeup is a very important point of it. Now, I like specular highlights. I like to have a little bit of sheen on the nose. You can see on this image, you can see a little bit of sheen. If you want a very, very matte look, then makeup is incredibly important. And then the softness of the light and not having the hot spot of the light pointing directly onto the model. So that's when feathering comes in. When you take the softbox, if my hand is the softbox, you're going to turn it so that it crosses the model or is pointing down and is coming down across the model. And that way you've got this very, very soft light that doesn't pick out these hot spots. But very often it's simply shiny skin that can be dealt with powder. And then if there is something that's not what you want in the final image, you can then retouch it. And then I'll often bring out the specular highlights that I want with dodging and burning. So I'm not just taking away the shiny hot spots.
I sometimes find that if people use hot shoe flash with one layer of diffuser, that might also cause the problem because it's not double diffuse. And hot shoe flash, it's not designed to support with softbox in a sense. Sometimes that might be the case.
Yes, exactly. And I really love the umbrella where the light shoots into the umbrella and then the light is being bounced back rather than the light coming through just one, as you said, just one layer of diffusion. You're going to have that kind of that hard spot. The diffusion isn't enough. By turning the light around, pointing it into the umbrella, the size of the light becomes a lot bigger and it's less concentrated in the middle and you don't have that hot spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Jivan says, I have the AD300Pro and confused about choosing octabox size, so please guide. So the octabox size, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I would go for, it's really about convenience, to be honest, and the size of your studio. If you have a small studio, you don't want a 1.8 meter soft box that is simply too big to handle and light is just going to be going everywhere because you're in a small space. The soft box is close to the model. There's no control whatsoever. So if you're in a huge space and you're going to have your light way over there and you're going to be shooting cars, then go for it. Go for these huge soft boxes. But I would experiment with some inexpensive soft boxes. If you're going to go and buy a very expensive soft box, then experiment first with some maybe more inexpensive ones and find out what suits you. As I said, I've always found myself very comfortable with 120, but I also really like the 85. I find that I get very similar results, but it's smaller and neater. It's easier to carry around.
I guess in a sense, if they want a bigger softbox, like you said, with a reflective umbrella with a diffuser, Godox has recently published a few, they call the Pro range sort of reflective umbrella that might also work for them.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Works like a charm because I took the umbrella to the Bandai last week for photo shoots. 30 kilometers of wind. I was like, oh gosh. My assistant says, oh my God, how come this umbrella is still not broken yet? I was like, yeah, works like a charm.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on to an example with high-speed sync. So this is an example of high-speed sync because I'm shooting at 1,000th of a second. I looked it up. I went to, because people always ask me my settings and I'm like, oh, I can't remember. I can usually remember my aperture and that's it. So I'm sure somebody's going to say, so this was 2 times AD200s. It was a jet black, this was at the client premises. So I usually never use a jet black background. This was a pure black background that was provided for me. And I knew that because she had dark hair and I was going for a Hollywood look, I thought, oh, this is going to be tricky. So I pointed the light onto the background just to lighten a little bit so that I could have some separation and we could see the model. And then I've got a beauty dish to get this Hollywood butterfly light. You can see it's quite hard, and I wanted to carve out her cheekbones. So I've got a beauty dish with a grid coming from above and pointing down in order to get that shadow underneath the nose, carve out these amazing cheekbones. And I've got a reflector as well. You can see in the catch lights, you can see the little tiny dot. That's just a small silver reflector. As I was traveling light, everything's got to be small. Just a small reflector held right underneath to just provide that glow. That's what she looks like. She's glowing, and it's the reflector that does that. And it's filling in these shadows a little bit. Otherwise, they would have been completely black. But yeah, I wanted that portrait look, f2.8, and so I just adjusted my settings, and I didn't even think. So with high-speed sync, you don't have to think about anything else. Somebody's probably asking, why wasn't I ISO 100? Probably because I was working fast, and I had it set at ISO 200, and rather than change my ISO, which just takes a little bit more time away, I just adjusted my shutter speed instead, just to darken things down. So that's usually why, if I'm working fast, then I go with what I can, because I mean, this day I think we shot 12 models in one day, so it was very fast paced, and I didn't have time to mess around much. Red Belly Photography, how much post work has been done on the stunning image? Thank you very much. I would say that I've done quite a lot, not too much. She had very good skin. I'm just trying to see if I can enlarge this so we can take a closer look.
That's smart. I never thought we could done
so
this in key light.
Can you see? I don't know if you can see. I've cleaned up her skin, but I haven't smoothed it. I don't know if you can see on the screen. You can actually see all of the texture of the skin. I had to, I cleaned up some veins on her eyes. So here we're selling eyelash extensions. That's the purpose of this image, and it's a Hollywood style. They call it the Kardashian effect. So I decided to go for this Hollywood look. So I probably spent about an hour doing a high-end retouch on this because it's advertising. So it needed a little bit of care. I cleaned up the hair, any stray hairs I cleaned up, but not a massive amount. I'd say, yeah, probably about an hour in all, but doing pixel level retouching. There's no filters or anything like that. Yeah.
Out of curiosity, Sarah.
Yes.
When would you choose to work with a softbox? When would you choose to work with a beauty dish? So when you work with beauty dish, is there any extra caution or like you need to take comparing with working with softbox?
Yeah, well, a beauty dish is generally a lot harder. It's a harder, less forgiving light. So it's perfect. It's called a beauty dish because it's perfect for that, for typical beauty work. But typical beauty work tends to be a model with perfect skin who's 20, okay? So I wouldn't use a beauty dish.
Stop writing to the heart. I'm past age. Yeah, I know.
Exactly. Well, you know, I wouldn't use a beauty dish if I was going for that very soft fine art look. I wouldn't use a beauty dish if my aim was to flatter an older subject. The beauty dish I tend to use if I want to carve out cheekbones and structure, and I want to have, you know, really create some shape and have a lot of control on the image. So a beauty dish, especially with a grid, is really focused and controlled, but it is quite hard. But with a, you know, with a young model with good skin and a reflector, it can be spectacular, and it does give that classic beauty advertising look. This is the same model. It's just this is the one that the client chose. As you can see, I've got a really wide open aperture, so that's the beauty of high-speed sync, and that we can just use a little tiny pop of light and get the effect that we're looking for, no matter what the situation. Here as well, this is, oh, my computer is slowing down. While I've got the spinning circle of death, I'll answer a question. Red belly photography. It has a small light throw on the model as a softbox. Can give you a great light throw over the whole body. So I have lit the whole model with a beauty dish, no problem. I take the grid off. The grid really narrows the beam into a small circle, so it's really only useful for this side. But I have lit the whole body with the beauty dish. It's just a question of angling it at the right direction. But if you really want, if you're taking, you know, doing a nude and you really want good light on the whole body, then I would say I would probably use a long strip box. Dang Tran, my girlfriend is a makeup artist and I often take photos for her work. Which modifier would you think is best for me to capture the most natural look to show the makeup? I've played with umbrella, reflector and a large softbox. I've not tried beauty dish yet. I would definitely try a beauty dish and a reflector underneath. So you're creating a clamshell look. That's really going to carve out the cheekbones, and it's going to really bring attention to the makeup. If you want to flood the face with light, try a triflector. So I have a triflector which has one reflector here and then two on the side, and it gives a distinctive 3 light. So there's four light catch lights. So there's the main light, and then there's 3 little reflector lights underneath. And it really just floods the face with light, with just one light, and you really show off the makeup, because you really need a lot of light to show off the makeup. If you want to carve out the cheekbones and create a few more shadows, then take the side reflectors away. So that's my advice for that. In this image, we are selling a product for eyelashes that makes eyelashes grow, and it's a perm for eyelashes. So it's like a treatment that fixes the eyelashes in place, dyes them, and then also helps them to grow. So what I wanted to do with this image was have everything else kind of melt away and just have the eyelashes really take center stage. So I did a bigger version here. It should come into focus in a second. There we go. So there you can see that we've just got, you know, we can see how detailed that eyelash is, and the eye and everything else. Even the eyebrow is going out of out of focus there. So here I was shooting an f2, 200th of a second, ISO 100, one AD300 with 120 centimeter softbox and a silver reflector, which we can see clearly in the eyes here. Now, because what I'll often do with beauty shots is sharp. There's no sharpening on this image, by the way.
It looks rather sharp.
Yeah, there's no sharpening on it. And this was printed absolutely massive in various forms. So yeah, my Sony. My Sony is super sharp. It's not sharpened at all. In fact, I had to kind of soften the skin slightly because the skin was so sharp. But what I will do with beauty images is that I'll sometimes bring the light down slightly. So with portraits, I tend to like the light quite high to create nice shadows on the face. With beauty, we want lots of light to kind of flood the face. So I'll bring it down a little bit. So that's why that you can see the softbox lower than usual. There's a question, just looking at her eyes, what is the second light coming from? That's actually the reflector. So it's not a light at all. It's a silver reflector, small silver reflector.
What's the size, he said? Just
the size of the reflector?
You know, people might be interested. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Cool.
I'm not very good with measurements. I don't know how to.
Nobody. I don't think anybody remembers the size of the the exact size of the reflector.
Yeah.
Somewhere between 60 cm to 120. That's usually
it's a piece
the range.
It's a piece I steal from my Triflector. So whenever I'm going around, I just take one of the pieces off the Triflector and I take that with me. And it's one of those ones that just folds up. You twist it around like a pretzel. So moving on, this is actually, believe it or not, a beauty shop because we are selling eyelash treatments for men. But I wanted a little bit of a grittier male look, so we need shadows for that. So I don't want him, I need to change the lighting completely for a guy. So what I did was just turn the light around and turn him so that I'm shooting into the shadows, so it's short lit. There's more shadow going on because I want him to look gritty. I don't want him to look too girly. So I've just quickly, using exactly the same setup, I've just changed it up so that it's more suitable for a man. So my settings here were, I didn't want it to be quite so silky and melting away. So I'm at F5 now instead of F2, 640th of a second, ISO 100. And I do remember, I can tell that I've got a little bit of overhead light here. So I'm using two AD300s. And I've got a gridded beauty dish at the front and I've a 120 centimeter softbox kind of providing that light that's just falling, and you can see it's just hitting his hair.
So just in case people might be interested, what's the difference, different approach you would take between take a photo for a guy and take a photo for a female?
Yeah, so the first thing we need to remember is that guys tend to look good when we can see the detail of their faces. So what I would try to do is make the opposite of what I would do to flatter an older lady, for example, like myself, where what I would try to do then is sort of flood the light with face as much as possible to sort of fill in all of the wrinkles and the crags and everything. Guys tend to look good with their crags and their wrinkles and their, the details. So what I've done is if you make the light lateral, so coming from the side and harder almost, you're immediately making it more masculine, and adding shadows is immediately making it more masculine. So rather than having him glowing, so I've taken away the reflector, for example. So what we're trying to do is sort of add to the grittiness, add to the roughness, especially with a young boy like this, with perfect skin, angelic features. It would be very easy to make him look feminine. I don't want to make him look feminine. So shadows, harder light, guys look good with, it's so unfair. Guys look good with wrinkles and gray hair and cragginess. So, that's mainly the thing that I'd be going for. And I find that more difficult. I'm much more I'm much more comfortable shooting women because I know what to do to make them look soft and pretty and feminine and lovely. So, yeah, so that's, I would say the biggest takeaway when shooting men is shadows. Try to get nice, hard, deep shadows, and you're going to make them look manly.
Thank you.
So here I wanted to, so I'm shooting on the 70-200 here, which is why even at f.6, the feathers that are behind her have gone out. It's quite compressed. Again, I'm using high-speed sync, 400th per second, and I'm using from memory. Again, I'm using, I've got a light on a very low power, just illuminating those feathers, and I've got a beauty dish sort of carving out these cheekbones. So I pulled up the ones that the client wanted and that the client used. So this is, all of this work is very much on client instruction, client direction. This is sort of I'm sure you've noticed that my own personal work is very different, but you need to be able to know what to give the client and what they want to do. So again, here I've just put the model in front of the softbox. And I've just got two lights, one in front, one behind. And I turned up, so here you can see I've got, this isn't a silver reflector, this is a white piece of polystyrene that I've got as a reflector. And it looks like an umbrella. So this is a classic beauty lighting setup. So just a small softbox or a beauty dish, focusing the light on the face, a reflector to make the skin glow, and then the light behind for this bright white that's bleeding forward and coming forward onto the jawline and the cheekbones. That's a really classic beauty setup. And then just some finishing.
Gorgeous.
This was
the same setup?
Yeah, same setup, yeah. So this is, this is one of those shots that we took as, when we were mucking around, and it ended up being the one that they used.
Great.
So then on another job, it tends to be, because the client needs to get everything done in one day, I need to turn up with my lighting equipment and get through a whole range of things in one day, sometimes very, very different things, ranging from an impromptu product shot. So this is what, I haven't retouched this yet. This is just, I've just found this on the white background, and they were like, oh, can you take some product shots? And I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. So this was using the AD300, giving me a little bit more power. I'd forgotten to put the ISO, because I was going to go into Lightroom and hunt for all the ISOs. So I haven't got the ISOs on these, but I'm pretty sure I was at 100 throughout. Maybe I might have gone up to 200 if I needed to, but if you don't see the ISO numbers, it's because I couldn't find it in the info section of the image, and I needed to go and find the raw to get it. So this was f8, 125th per second using the AD300Pro. As I said, this is straight out of Lightroom. I haven't started retouching the products yet, because it's important to do that. So I need to tidy up all of the stuff. But it's just to show that you need to be flexible when you're on a job at the client premises, and sometimes you don't have all of your stuff, all of your product tables. If you're a product photographer, I'm not. So do you want to play the video, and then I can go through?
Oh, that'd be great. Which one are we looking at? The light
one.
flashes?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The light flashes, right?
Yeah.
Sure. This one?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Oh.
So yeah, that was just showing
So good.
in one day. It's a lot to get through.
Oh my God, how many images are you taking for within a day? Oh my God.
I think
so many.
Yeah, I'm delivering 30 finished images of the various. So yeah, finished meaning ready for publication. Yeah, so you know, you can't be messing around with lighting, and you know, it needs to go. It's almost like, I mean, if you're a wedding photographer, it's a piece of cake. It's fine. It's no problem at all. But there was a lot to get through that day. We finished late, but yeah. So I just wanted to show that video showing a little bit behind the scenes, and then I took a few showing my setup as well, which I'm going to show you as I go through. Before I do, there's one that's off topic a little bit, but I want to answer it. Red Belly Photography. Do you shoot outdoors? And if so, do you go with the sun and shadows on your model? Yes, I do shoot outdoors because I shoot weddings. So, and I will also sometimes occasionally shoot portraits only if I'm forced to, because I prefer to stay in the studio. In the summer, it's so hot here in Italy that I really don't want to be shooting outside if I can help it. But for weddings, of course I do. So I tend to use the sun as my backlight, and I use a softbox on the subject. That's how I prefer to shoot. Yeah. Or I will, if I'm shooting natural light, I'll search for places that have exactly the natural light that I want. So I'll never just, that means avoiding just standing in open air with the sky above. That's generally the worst natural light to be working with. If I'm forced to do that, then I will definitely want to have a light with me, because I can control the direction and the shaping of the light on the people, and then I'll blend it with the ambient light. So now I just want to say as well that just showing how easy the Godox is to use. I turned up for this job, and I literally opened the umbrellas from the packet and assembled them right there and then. So, you know, it was just literally opening, setting it up, going. It was as easy as that. It was absolutely great. So I just quickly, as you can see, it's very chaotic. There's a lot of people around, but I've just stopped for a second and asked the videographer to stop so that I can explain what I'm doing. I don't even know what size umbrella I've got, which makes me laugh whenever I see this.
So this is a really simple beauty setup. I've got the AD300 up here with a little softbox. I'm not sure what measurement that is. I'll check on that. Oh, it's the 65. Yeah, 65. And just a simple reflector here. I've got the AD200 at the back there, just to provide a little bit of ring light. And I'm using my trigger to just trigger a random light that my client had, because I just wanted a little bit of extra ring light on the other side. And here we go. Let's see.
So I just want to correct something there. I said that I was using my trigger to trigger a random light that the client had lying around. It wasn't my trigger, it was the lights that was triggering the other light. So I used that extra light that they had by firing my Godox using the Godox trigger, and then I was able to have another little bit of extra light from something that they had. So that was my setup. It's not difficult at all, but we were going for something really a little bit crazy, because what she's selling are colored. You can see her pink eyelashes. She's selling colored eyelash extensions. So for anybody who doesn't know what an eyelash extension is, it's the eyelashes, false eyelashes that basically stay on for about maybe 2-3 weeks, something like that. And it's their big business now. Everybody's wearing masks and they've got these amazing eyelashes. So yeah, this is her new product, and this is actually the boss. So the model is the boss. She's the boss of the company, this big international company, and she wanted to have this kind of unusual shot with lots and lots of color. So hopefully,
it's eyelash with color.
Yeah, can you see the pink on the eyelashes? Let me zoom in.
If you can zoom in a bit, I'm sure that will be easier for everyone. I can see the eyeshadows. Oh, sorry guys, just bear with me for a sec. I think Sarah is probably rebooting her computer. I'm sure she will be back fairly quickly. It's a dramatic night, isn't it? So here we go. Sarah's back. Great.
Sorry.
That's all right. Right on time. So Sarah, Red Belly Photography is asking, how do you follow on your Instagram? Guys, if you look at Sarah's name, her Instagram handle is just right down there. It's Sarah Falala, photographer.
Yeah.
Here you go for you. All right, let's continue.
So pink eyelash extensions, and all different color eyelash extensions, and they do all kinds of crazy things, like the lower layer being green and then the next layer being different colors. I mean, it's just, there's a whole world out there of eyelash extensions that we have no idea. So this was the first one we wanted to play around with.
I'm not sure about anybody else. I have no idea.
Yeah, I know, right?
This is confusing.
So that was the first look that we went for, that the boss went for, and she loves it. So it was exactly what she had in mind. But hopefully these behind the scenes things are just showing that it's really not complicated. It's very, very simple. And you'll see again and again the same clamshell light and reflector. And now, by the way, the 65 centimeter I absolutely loved, because it's almost like a beauty dish. It's small enough that it's almost like a beauty dish, and there are inserts that come with it with reflectors that sort of give that beauty dish effect. So I really enjoyed using that. Let's play the next one.
So now we are using the AD200 because I don't need very much light. I've got an aperture of 2.8, so I don't need that much light. I've got my AD300 charging for the next shoot, and we're creating a beautiful beauty shot with a reflector, lots of light, because she's going to have her hands. Put your hands up. Covering, we're going to be creating this frame of her eyes, so I need lots of light to be able to hit those eyes, because we're selling eyelashes here.
So that's the end result. So the AD300Pro, f2.8, 200th of a second, ISO, I'm sure it was 100. This is just a test shot that I took. On the left, you can see the test shot without the light. So you can see there's just a tiny little bit of ambient. But it just shows how with the 300 watt second light, you can get, that's a lot of light. I think people don't realize just how much light it is. They think they need something super powerful. Whereas depending on the settings you're using, you don't always. Sarah Wilson, unfortunately had to miss the first part. Is there any way we can watch this again? It's going to stay on the Facebook page, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She can
Sarah,
replay it anytime she wants on YouTube or Facebook.
It's going to stay up. Moving on. So we already saw some of these in the next part. Again, you can see that I've got the light lower than I usually have it for portraits, because this is beauty and I don't want too many shadows. With portrait, I'm looking at much more playing with shadows. With beauty, we just want this kind of clean, glowing look. And then there's a close-up.
Oh, nice.
So again, we're looking at the eyelashes, and the client had all these ideas about paint and then pink and roses and all. Just it's playing on the color theme of the fact that that they can have them in all different colors. And these are the images that the client's chosen as part of what's going to be sold. So, and then we did a few full-length body shots because she wanted to do a few lifestyle shots as well for the social media, showing, a sort of a certain carefree image, trying to highlight that the lashes provide freedom and, not having to wear mascara or take it off. So this was one. So you can see it's easy to do a full body shot with...
Still clamshell lighting?
Yeah. Well, no, I think I've got a reflector probably on the floor. Usually at this point, I just put the reflector on the floor, and then that way any light that's falling on the floor is just automatically going to bounce back up again. So I suppose you could, it's a very loose sense of clamshell lighting. But someone said, nice, really shallow depth of field. May I ask the lens? I think for the most part, here I've got a 50 on. But for these, I was using the 70-200, which I love because it just compresses. I love to shoot really like from 100 up to 200 millimeters because it really compresses the face. It's so flattering on the face. It does make the depth of field really shallow, so you've got to be careful with that. But it's so pretty. It's so beautiful. This is another one, AD300Pro, f4, 125th. Nice clean shot. This is showing off a more natural lash. Again, f4.5. Just a product, putting in the products. So this was fun because the client's idea was to have fairy lights inside the cotton wool providing the glow. And I knew, of course, that using a flash would knock that out. So I knew it wasn't going to work, but we did try it. So we can see this is the shot just using the ambient light, trying to see if we could get the fairy lights to show up. So if you want to, just showing how much control and that we can create using an artificial light in a softbox. I knew it wasn't going to work. We tried it, but I said, okay, let's just make it look like she's asleep on a cloud. So we went with that instead. And all of the cotton wool is kind of acting as a reflector. So that's what you can see there.
Nice and soft.
Yeah, exactly.
So I will just quickly address one question from the Red Betty.
Mm-hmm.
He's asking, Godox has a play and taste day for senior photographers. So due to the social distance rule in Australia, place in Australia now, we wouldn't have any bigger gathering for obvious reason. But the showroom of KO is still open, so you are more than welcome to come along and try anytime you want.
Bhavesh Karia said, I had clients ask for fairy lights in the shot and have a glow from them, never be able to get it right too. Exactly. Now, another problem with this room was that there was loads of natural light coming in through these huge windows. So, of course, you need to have basically an almost dark room for fairy lights to just have that glow from fairy lights. That's why. And if you're using flash, the flash is going to knock out the fairy lights. So If you do have clients ask for that, then you know in advance it's not going to work. Another shot chosen from the same series.
This is gorgeous angle for showing those.
Yeah,
lashes.
exactly. Yeah. So here the client, but at this point I've got the client. We've worked together for quite a long time, so I know what she's looking for. At the same time, I'm being very careful. I don't know if you noticed, being very careful not to let the nose cross the mouth. So we're coming from two different angles. She's saying, I need you to get higher because I want to see the eyelashes. And I'm like, but I don't want the nose to cross the mouth. Otherwise the nose is going to dominate the picture. So we're always trying to find that balance between my needs as a photographer, trying to get a harmonious face, and her needs as the client wanting to show off the lashes. Love this talk. Thank you so much. No, it's not just you with the fairy lights. Same client wanted a really editorial look, carefree, trying to give the impression that, hey, I just wake up like this because I have eyelash extensions, so I don't have to put my makeup on. I just look like this when I wake up, and I hang around the house in my sweater. So I'm shooting at f2, my favorite f2, at 320th of a second ISO. It's going to be 100, I'm positive, 100 or maximum 200. And so we're going for an editorial look, and so I'm bringing in more shadows here. So this is just one light, and I'm kind of going for that sort of Rembrandt look, and I'm trying to give variety as well to the client so that they're not all the same. First of all, we've got variety because she's got so many different ideas that we've had to put together in one day. But at the same time, I want to give the client variety within each set. So you wanted to see without the light. So this is a test shot done without light. And that's with. So I've returned more to my portrait style, which is a much higher angle and coming off more to one side, so that you've got more of a Rembrandt look coming on. But it's very feathered, so that the shadows aren't too soft.
If you don't mind, would you just enlarge a bit so people can see the details about the Rembrandt lights you're referring to and the shadow side? Yeah. It's amazing nowadays with mirrorless camera how much details we look at the details of the sweater and hair. It's like
right. And I don't sharpen.
Crazy.
I don't sharpen the image.
And this is at f2.
Yeah.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yes, I adore the sharpness, and I definitely don't sharpen anything because there's just no need. This is f2. I've left her hair messy. I haven't retouched that. I just retouched her skin a little bit, did a little bit of dodge and burn, and that's it. But what I'm talking about here is this little triangle of light on the cheek is what we call the Rembrandt lighting. Now I haven't retouched out. See this little spot on her nose? I love that, what I call specular highlights on her lips, on her chin. I really like that. So I keep that in, and I actually emphasize it a little bit when I'm dodging and burning. It looks like a little glow on the skin, which I really like. So we can go even bigger. Let's zoom in.
Craziness.
Yeah. So you can see then, the F2 is causing her foot to go out of focus, but because I'm a little way back and I'm using a 50mm, we've got a lot more in focus than if I was using a longer lens. I then switched lenses to, I think I went back to my 70-200 for this one to get a much, whoops, hang on, where's it gone?
Sorry, a quick question. Which camera equipment do you use?
I use Sony A7 R3.
Works like a charm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
have one of those.
I switched maybe 2 years ago. maybe 2 years ago, something like that. So here I'm focusing on, now usually I would focus on the eye that is nearest the camera. However, this is not the eye. This is not the eyelash that the client wants to show off. It doesn't show the curve. So I've deliberately focused on this eye because this is what she wants to see. This curve of the eyelash is very important to them. So there's a reason for that. So usually portrait rules dictate that we would focus on the eye closest to us, but I've done this on purpose, just so everybody knows, in case somebody goes, you focused on the wrong eye. Again, here with it, we're trying to show off the product, but at the same time, I'm trying to create a pleasing image as a portrait photographer. Again, some more, these are all the same.
Answer one question, Sarah.
Yeah.
It says, about cropping.
Photography. I've started re-looking at old images that I didn't like and started to crop in tight and find that the image comes to life. Do you ever do this, Sarah? I don't. I tend to crop in camera, and in that I shoot I try to get it as right in camera as I possibly can. But I definitely agree that if you look at old images, you might see things in a completely different way. That's a really interesting exercise. I might try that. But generally speaking, I don't. I'll never, actually, rarely, never. I will never shoot wide with the intention of later cropping in. If I want to get up close, then I'll shoot close. If I want wide, I'll shoot wide. Have you found times when you would need a Godox 400 rather than the 300? Honestly, the way I shoot, no, because I'm quite happy, for example, to put up the ISO in order to just get more light and control the camera and control the lighting in a different way. I do have 400s in my studio, but I find that the 300 is very, very flexible and more than enough. So, yeah.
It's lighter on our back, too.
Sorry?
It's lighter on our back, in the back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's, you know, and if you know how to control the light with your camera as well, and how to, you know, how to balance the ambient, how to let in, how to make the light that you've got, how to allow more light to come into the camera sensor, it's really pretty flexible. Nick, amazing work. Thank you so much. Loving the 300Pro also. I'm interested in your process after the shoot. Client selection, how much did you edit images before the client sees them before their final selection? So if it's a portrait, it's a completely different procedure than if it's a client. If it's a client, I let them have full control. Not full control. I take that back. I have full control. No, I will do a quick selection, in that I will eliminate anything that I don't feel comfortable being out there. So it could be that if I include everything, the client might choose something that I don't like for technical reasons. So if there's something that I'm not happy with for any kind of technical reason or other reason, I will eliminate it. I'll present the client with just adjusted in Lightroom. I'll just make sure that the color's good and the exposure is right, because sometimes we all make mistakes. We, you know, sometimes don't get it right, or it'll look lighter on, especially if you're working in a very, very fast-paced situation like this. It'll look fine on the back of your camera, and then you'll find it's a little bit darker, so I might bump it up a little bit. Usually, if I have the time in a portrait session, I'll be looking at the histogram. With something like this that was so fast and packed, and I was, you know, exhausted by the end of it, I didn't have time to be looking at the histogram and doing that. So pretty much everything is okay to go straight out of camera. That's fine. In fact, sometimes we will also look at the pictures together at the back of the camera, and I will star that the images that the client wants already at the time of the shoot. But then I will send the client a gallery of, I don't know, maybe 200 images from a shoot like this, of a pre-selection, and then she will make her final selection, and then I will go on to retouch those. With a portrait session, it's completely different, and I will produce finished images, retouched, and a very small selection. So I go by that. You know, I'm the one who knows what I'm doing. It's different if it's like a commercial client. They have needs, and they have a right to have an input in that say. Peter Rooney, hi Peter. Hey Aries, Sarah, beautiful work as always. Back at you, mate. Awesome stuff. Always admire your work. Sarah, what I'm loving about this talk, as you love being in control, but you are not egotistic and arrogant. That's such a huge quality. I hope you're very sweet. Thank you very much. I am a control freak. I am a control freak. That's why I work by myself with no assistance, and generally shoot weddings by myself. That's very sweet. I have the V862 and AD300. I think the next one I might just jump to the AD1200. Oh yes, that's the one I want next as well.
Yeah,
Great.
that's pretty good. Yeah, that comes actually very handy to because you know it's pretty heavy, but most of the heaviness is on the battery. The head is actually very light, very similar to AD300. So with that power, you can do a lot with it.
Outside with the sun. I mean, you can turn day to night with that power, right?
Yeah, exactly. So much fun.
Yeah.
I think you know Rohit here is saying about the softness, you know, of your image. Would love to learn more.
Where is this? How come, beautiful images, Sarah, how come your image is lit so softly? Would love to learn more about that. Okay, so the main thing you need to consider experimenting with is feathering. I wouldn't say that they're lit particularly softly. I mean, if you look at this one, you can see that the shadow is quite hard, you know, there's quite a hard shadow there. There's quite a small softbox. I think it was the 65 I had on there. What's happening though is that I tend to feather the light on the model so that the harshest part of the light, the central part, is missing the model, and it's kind of going past the subject, if that makes sense. So that the feather, if you think of Photoshop, but you think of take a Photoshop brush, okay? If you set the hardness level, you've got a hard edge. If you lower the hardness to 0, you've got the opacity in the center, and then it feathers out. It gets softer and less opaque. Okay, so if you think of the softbox as being like a Photoshop brush on a very, very high softness, what you're doing is you're painting, and you have the beam going past the model, called feathering. What you've got is the softest part of the light just kissing the face, which is what gives that softness. And of course, I love to shoot at f2 and sometimes f1.4 if I can, so that helps as well.
I think, you know, with that kind of image, the particular style or, you know, workflow of your retouching actually comes in the way to be consistent with the way you light, right? I think, Rohit, if you truly want to know a bit more, go to visit Sarah's website. She does offer one-on-one online tutoring. Do you?
Yes, I do.
Or, you know, if you want to talk about that, that'd be great. So I'm sure lots of people would be interested in your post-production sort of workflow. Do you offer any, coming up? Do you have any workshop coming up in Europe? Do you have any, online sort of teaching coming up?
Yeah, I did. I had a sold-out workshop in Germany. It was supposed to be this weekend, but unfortunately, the situation has forbidden that. So that's been postponed to April. But everything's happening online. So I do one-to-one mentoring. And I have one client, for example, where we literally, it's like I'm there in the studio with her through the internet. And we're looking at the light direction and, we've literally gone from 0 to hero. So she's gone from not understanding how to use her lights at all to coming out with some really great straight out of the camera portrait images and knowing, understanding light. So we've done all of that online. I also do retouching and editing, and so yeah, sure, contact me, no problem. I have a website called love-edits.com.
Do you sorry, do you want to change your name to the website, or you know, or you do you want to message me the name? I can actually put it on the multiple platforms so people.
I'll send you a message.
If you can,
I have
cool,
two.
that'd be great.
I have two, so I'm just messaging.
Just send me both. I will.
One is for education, and one is for my editing service.
Yep.
Yeah, the great thing about you know, even if we're locked down or you know we can't travel, we can always learn and do stuff together, which is great. So I also help people plan shoots, so get their ideas together. We get mood boards. We do, you know, we plan creative stuff. But my aim is to help that person find their own creative ideas, not tell them what to do. I want them to find out for themselves, and then we work on it together. So we work on creating the idea and then executing it. So these are, I mean, this is commercial, so none of these are my ideas. I keep that for my personal work, my creative work. So here I'm shooting at f2 again. That helps a lot with that kind of soft look that we were talking about, even though it's still super sharp. Let me see if we can. So these are going to be used for, so probably because I'm at f2, that product box is not, oh, it is, it's not too bad actually. I was just saying that if for any reason that product box hadn't been razor sharp, I would have replaced it with one that was, because obviously it all has to be the same. But because it's on the same plane as the face, even at f2, we've got things pretty sharp. So I'm quite happy with that. Here I have another little video just showing the last setup.
We are using.
Sorry, Sarah, I actually didn't display the image. Would you just mind just go back?
Yeah.
Quickly so people can see the image, and even the image before that, I believe. Yeah. Just give it a couple of seconds. Sorry, Red Betty, I forgot to switch back to the teaching sort of layout. Cool. Awesome. Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, so right, video. Okay, so this was it wasn't the fight. It was I think there were 5 setups during the day, but this is the last one that I recorded, that I remembered to get the videographer to record.
We are using the AD200 just on a lower power. I've got that on the 16th. Just to put a little bit of fill, because I really want the light to just be bouncing everywhere here, all over the model, to get a really, really luminous look. And then as our main light, we've got the AD300, and I'm using the 85, which has got a slightly shallower softbox so that the light really spreads out, and I'm going to use a reflector as well. So let's go.
Okay, and this is the result. Again, this is all, sorry,
just wondering how many lights we're looking at. 3 lights, right? 3 lights and 1 reflector.
Two lights and a reflector, just to bounce a little bit of fill back in. So I've got,
Okay.
yeah. And you can see I've got the key light is the AD300 coming from up. I don't know, can you see my cursor moving?
Yes,
top right.
we do.
Oh, you can. Okay, great. It's coming from up here, and then I've got the AD200 sort of filling in from below on quite a low power. And here, just literally, seeing as we're learning about eyelashes, let's go in and take a look at the eyelashes. So I don't know if you can see. This is the color. This is where the color comes in. So there's like a green underlayer of lashes and then black ones on top.
Yeah. Beautiful.
There we go.
So the hair is just amazing.
Always
Wow.
remember when you're lighting something that's, or a subject that is lying down, and that goes for newborns, pets, boudoir, whatever, the light always needs, the main light always needs to come down the face and the body. Always, never from up here. Sometimes when the subject is lying down, people get confused and forget that. It's a rule that always needs to stay. The shadows always, see, the shadows are still falling underneath her nose and underneath her chin. Otherwise the image, we look at the image and it just looks wrong. We just go, whoa, something's gone off here. And another
like
selection. Again, sorry?
I said like that.
What? It's all wrong?
Yeah, that's the wrong thing you're referring to.
No.
Just thought to entertain somebody.
Yeah, this is just taken from a different angle. The client wants to see I'll probably have to do some work on separating the hair away from the eyelashes to show that off, but that is it.
Great.
Yeah. So any more questions?
No, I think we answered tons of questions, guys. If there's any further question, now is the best time to ask any question.
We went through.
Like to.
We went through as we went along, which is good. So have you just moved and keep the light as they are? Yes, exactly. Yeah. Kept the light exactly where they were, because no matter what direction I'm coming from, the light still needs to be moving downwards. So you want, let's see.
People asking.
I'm doing live infographics here. It's coming down like that. Okay. So I always want that to be going, you know, the shadow to be under the chin and under the nose, always, and under the cheekbones. So all I've done is I've just moved around from a different direction. Totally off the board. It just clicked with me. I'm thinking of the ABBA Lovely Lady. Do you get that ever? Oh, what did I look like? No, but thank you very much.
It's probably the straight hair.
Oh, that was very funny. How long did the floor photo take to prepare the model? Not that long. Well, what took time was doing the curls, and then she just lay down, and maybe 10 minutes just to arrange the curls. I would have preferred, this was one of the last shots of the day, I would have preferred, honestly, to have spent more time cleaning up the hair, because I'm looking, all I can see is stray hairs everywhere, driving me crazy. I would have loved to have spent more time cleaning, making everything really, really perfect, honestly. But yeah, we didn't have time for that. So, and then they just placed flowers everywhere. Really enjoyed that. Thank you. You're very, very welcome. You're very, very welcome.
All right. I think that's the last question.
Amazing.
Thank you, everybody, for being here with us. Especially a huge thank Sarah for this amazing work, and be inspiration for everybody, including myself. And I hope everybody had a great time. So bye for now, and I'll see you guys until next time. Thank you, Sarah.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for having me again. It's such an honor. Bye.
See ya. Bye.